Hey, good morning, Jeff and Jeremy. It's Paul here from Veriform. So I'm just looking at the parts that we've done for you, and it was a headache for everybody, but mostly for you. So I wanted to suggest another solution here. I want to show you we've been forming these parts, trying to follow uh, the CSA guidelines to prevent cracking. And I'm just going to show you here. Um, this is the punch, and this is the die that we were using. And so as you can see, this bend here, the one that the email is about, needed more material because it's not even sitting on the die. Let me just change the view here. It wasn't sitting on the die, so that's why the extra material was required here. And I'll show you how it bends. Again, there's no material there, so we know it's going to fall in. But this bending here from this point where the radius of the punch stops and the radius of the bend starts to here, you've got here more than double the thickness for what I call a cantilever moment. So again, the point from here to here really has to be at least 3 times the thickness to have enough uh, to bend the part without the tonnage damaging the tooling or sinking the punch into the material. So now, here's a solution that we thought of. Instead of using the half-inch radius punch, which even that isn't within CSA guidelines. CSA guidelines say that for 44W, 50W, we should use 1.5 times thickness for the radius. That's not good. But if you can work with us, and I'll work with you, Sean and I will work with you at your next order to make sure you have the right material. You can ask for material that has good formability. We can change this punch to a 3/8 punch. So here, right now it's a half-inch, 12.7. We change it to 3/8, and we'll go down to a smaller die. And I'll show you this die wasn't possible with a half-inch radius, but if we change it to a 3/8 radius punch, watch what happens. See here, we can form it. There's much more better material sitting here in terms of sitting on the ledge. Now I'm going to ask you, if this works, to ask you to add a 16th to here. And that should keep your part still in tolerance for your customer, and that way you can avoid any machining. So this is quite small, this amount. We like to see this overlay or overlap between the top of the die and the part to be at the very minimum half the thickness. You can see it's not half the thickness. It's about maybe a third. But if we can go from here to here, I'll show you. If I measure from here to here, there. This distance here is 1.62 millimeters. You can't see it on the screen here. But it's 1.62 millimeters from here, which is basically a 16th. So you can add that, and you can form your part. I'll show you now what your part forming here. Sorry, I just move everything so you can see a little better. There you go. Do it again. Again, so if we add a 16th to this edge, watch what happens. It forms nicely, okay? Now, we can't fix this, but you see this area here? I'm going to suggest to you that what you do is you add a square tab just here. A square tab just in this area. And again, we can draw that for you and ensure it. And that way, on that flat, let me get rid of all the tooling here. Right now, just get rid of all the tooling here and flatten everything. Just a rectangular tab right here, just like that. You follow my cursor, okay? And you're going to leave all this alone. It won't be harmed at all. All you have to do is just machine just one little area, maybe 3/4 of an inch, or maybe 1 inch off. and you can leave the rest already there. Now, let's go to the other bends quickly. I know this is a long video. The other bends here, we can actually eliminate the material on this as well. And I'll show you when I put in back the tooling back. You see that? By going to a 3/8 radius punch and this die, we can now get you this to bend with no material on this side. So again, we can eliminate material everywhere except one little part of the cutout right here. And that can be a little tab, and we'll draw that for you. And we'll work with you. Maybe at the time, your next order, if you have extra material or on the sheet, just cut a few test pieces. We'll pick them up. We'll no charge. We'll bend them for you. Those little test pieces. And if we see no cracking, then we'll know that we can proceed and eliminate all the machining except for that one little tab here and on the other side. Hope that all makes sense, and that'll help you recover some of the money you've lost on this one. And again, I'll get you a 50% credit on the welding because you're very kind and you were very reasonable in your email. All right, great. Thanks, Jeff and Jeremy.